Hi, I'm Rob Linhart,
I'm Lily Margolis.
and welcome to Hazel's Flight School, Party Pours for the Holidays. The holidays are on us, and if you need a couple of good wine-based options for your party pours, your punch bowl, we are going to get you going in the right direction.
So, one of the first things we're going to talk about is sangria. I know this is usually traditionally served during the summertime and is thought of as more of a refreshing summertime drink, but it's also a great option for your punch bowl this holiday season.
Yeah, nice and fruity. Now, if you already know about sangria, you basically know what you're getting into, but it's really very simple. We're talking about a white or a red wine that's been tarted up with fruit and commonly fortified with something to give it a little extra kick and a little extra punch when you put it in your punch bowl. Classically, historically, has its roots really in the Iberian Peninsula, think Spain, Portugal, and there are actually a lot of really good pre-made options. Real Sangria, for example, definitely coming from Spain. This is the red version, and it's basically ready to go. Just chill it down, get it in your punch bowl or get it in the glass, and you're good to go. But it kind of limits you in your options. And so we can talk a little bit here about how to make your own sangria and what's really involved with making sangria. And don't worry, it's super easy.
So, how do you make sangria?
All right, well, again, we're going to start with a wine base. And you can choose any inexpensive red or white wine. You don't really have to go crazy here. By the time we're done, don't pay for detail and depth and character of a wine that's just going to get washed out with other stuff. So classically, a red or white wine, you can use any fruit or fruit juice. The most common and my preference is to use a nice variety of citrus. I've got lemons, limes, and oranges here, but you could use just about any fruit that floats your boat. It's all up to you, wide open. But we do also typically want to fortify it a little bit, and typically just an inexpensive brandy or cognac, something like that. If you want something that's got a slightly different flavor profile, I could see something minty. I don't want to say Jägermeister, but it could work. Feel free to play around with this, but the basic idea is start with a wine, get some fruit, other type flavorings going on in there, and then fortify it. For the holidays, I like to really take it to that punch level. And for me, that means a little bit of fizz. So a good Prosecco, inexpensive sparkling wine to go into that really can take it to another level and really make it fun.
What's going to be the ratio of spirit to wine in our sangria?
Typically, that's a really good question. You don't necessarily want to go crazy, but just like mixing a cocktail, use your own judgment. You decide where the flavor profile goes. And that's why we want to give you the basics about how to make this, so you can really own your punch and own your sangria and really make it the way you like. As it happens, when I'm mixing drinks, if it's a wine-based or not, I like them strong. So I would tend to go a little heavy on the hard stuff. But if you want a lighter style and you really just kind of want the wine to show forward, obviously, focus on the wine, maybe hold back on the fruit juice. Again, all bets are off. Just play around with it a little bit. Find your sweet spot. Find your next family classic.
So once you add your fruit into your sangria, should you be letting it sit in the mixture, or should you just put it in and serve it immediately?
Actually, I didn't mention that, but that is a great idea. Just like letting a wine on its own kind of come together in barrel or bottle, it's a really good idea to get this done ahead of time. Let it all come together and really meld into one sort of coherent punch, one coherent drink. That's a great idea. A few hours probably at most is all it really takes, but it will continue to come together over time. If you can make it the day before, the night before, I bet it would be just fantastic the next day. So we've got a nice cool punch and a nice chilled punch bowl. But what if you want something warm? It's cold and chilly and we want to warm our bones, and we're hanging out on the veranda and it's kind of chilly. Mulled wine really shines in that scenario.
Is mulled wine typically served hot then?
I prefer it hot, and I think that's the classic way to do it. For the record, mulled wine really just means spiced wine. So we take a wine and classically you sort of heat it up. You can use a pot, use a pan. You could even use the microwave if you're in a hurry, and add spices to that. Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, those sorts of things. Anything that you like that's really even herbal stuff, something that's going to really kind of add some more layering into that wine. Now, there are, like the sangria, lots of pre-made options out there. The classic German version, we get asked for it all the time, Glühwein. There are Scandinavian versions, Glögg, for example, Vingglögg. That's another classic style. They're all variations on that theme of just spicing up and warming up a nice, typically red wine, I would say.
And can you make mulled wine at home?
Of course, and it's super easy. Again, just any inexpensive bottle of red wine. I would probably go with something a little fuller bodied, to be honest. If you've got those spices at home, cloves, cinnamon, what have you, go for it. But you can buy pre-made versions of what we call mulling spices. They're often, you'll see them as cider spices, and they can typically come in little packets, little box like this you'll find on the shelf. And that's pretty much what you're going to get. Look at the label on that, and that's what you'll see. Cinnamon, clove, those sorts of things. Pumpkin spice. Sometimes it would be pretty much the same thing. And it's really as simple then as adding those to your wine and heating that up gently, mind you. You don't want to overcook the wine. You just want to let it all get together and get it to a nice warm temperature to warm your bones and warm your soul. There are some variations on this. One that I was just informed by a very nice German lady. In certain parts of Germany, they do fortify this like we would do with sangria, and her recommendation was amaretto. But again, like sangria, if you've got a favorite kind of hard liquor, bourbon I could see working even, any number of things you could mix with your wine to, again, give it a little more kick and give it a little more oomph and warm you up just that much more.
When you're heating up your mulled wine, does it matter how quickly or which way you heat it?
It probably doesn't technically matter if you can watch it carefully. But if you're getting this ready for a party, you're probably going to have a lot of other stuff going on. So I strongly recommend that you get the wine and the mulling spices going a little bit early and get it under just a nice low heat and really let it kind of come up to temperature slowly. If you start to boil the wine, you can start to boil off some of the alcohol. And again, you're not using a super complex wine, but you don't want to kill it either. And boiling a wine is a pretty good way to kill it. Also, if you're working with an open flame, be very, very careful. If you're working with hard alcohol, you want to definitely at least have the flame off when you add that, or add it at the end. Again, here you don't have to work so hard like the sangria with the mulled wine in terms of letting that integrate. You can just go ahead and splash that in there and kind of give it a good stir, and you should be ready to go. But always, and this is just a chef trick, be very careful when you're working with hard liquor around flames. It can ignite and it can get you into trouble. And generally speaking, things taste better when they've been cooked low and slow for long periods of time. So the longer you can let your sangria sit and come together, the longer and slower and lower heat you can bring your mulled wine up to temperature, the more flavor, the more development you'll actually get out of it. And you'll find that it drinks a bit better.
And when you're serving your hot mulled wine, is it okay to serve it in a wine glass, or should you be serving this in a mug at this point?
I'm just feeling mug. That's just a wine glass. Sure, if it's a little cool. I worry a little bit sometimes, depending on the glass. If it's not tempered, you could shatter the glass if it's really hot. That would definitely be a concern of mine. Punch glasses and things like that might be able to take it, but definitely has a mug feel to it for me. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Linking this back to the sangria, the fruit is the garnish for the sangria, but what about the mulled wine? Are we seeing anything to garnish this mug we're drinking out of?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. And a few things come to mind immediately. The classic would be to add a little more cinnamon and putting a cinnamon stick in there. Looks cool. That's all over the holidays. Candy canes, peppermint sticks, Feels like a no-brainer for the holidays, right? I just had a vision of a Kit Kat slowly melting in my mulled wine and bringing chocolate and a little bit of that sort of crackery kind of thing going on. Sky's the limit on this one. Simple, elegant, a sprig of mint would even work. That kind of gets us back into that candy cane peppermint place. So again, all bets are off on that one. Anything that's going to kind of complement and work with those spices and work with that darker, kind of redder toned wine would be a really good option. Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
I know, I can't get away from the Kit Kat now.
And remember, everybody, you can buy any of these products at Hazel's Winter Wonderland.
That's just our quick little how-to for some of your holiday party pours. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for flying with us today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and ask your questions in the comments. And if you have any personal favorite holiday drinks, let us know in the comments. Today's trivia question is, where is Glühwein from? If you're the first person to correctly answer this question in the video comments, you'll win a $10 Hazel's gift card.